Okay, this is 2.3 of Chapter 2, Estimating Length. You will need a straight edge or ruler, okay, to do some practice on this. All right, well, let's try these. Name a metric unit and an imperial unit you would use to estimate each measurement. Okay, so we're talking about basically reference, the height of a tree. Well, a unit for metric might be meters. And the height of a tree might be, in terms of an imperial unit, might be yards. The width of a book. Well, let's say, I would say that might be centimeters. I'm just going to write cm for centimeters, and the width of a book might be inches, abbreviation IN. The diameter of a golf ball. Well, we might use millimeters in metric, or SI, and the diameter of a golf ball might also be in inches, but would probably include fractions of an inch. And the distance from Winnipeg to Vancouver, well, we know that it's probably going to be in kilometers because that's the largest distance in the SI system. And in imperial, it would just be miles. Okay? To estimate a length, you can compare it to a personal referent. Okay, there's that word referent again. A referent can be a length or distance that you can easily remember in either SI or imperial units. For example, 1 centimeter is about the width of your little finger. 1 foot is a little longer than your foot. So, list some SI reference based on everyday objects. So you can use your imagination here. 1 millimeter, for me 1 millimeter is about maybe the thickness of a coin. A dime, a nickel, a quarter in your pocket. 1 centimeter. Well, we could say 1 centimeter referent might be the width of a finger. That's a good referent. Okay, and all a referent is just some way that you can remember the unit. 10 centimeters is 100 millimeters. 10 centimeters might be the length of your foot. Length of a foot, probably a child's foot. Okay, but you can use your imagination. 1 meter might be the distance from the floor to your waist. Okay, that's about a meter or a yard. Okay, so list some imperial reference based on everyday objects. 1 inch. 1 inch might be the length of your thumb or your big toe. Length of your thumb. Now that's probably from the first, the joint or the bend in it to the tip. 1 foot could be your own foot, or it could be the length of a book. And 1 yard, probably the same kind of referent as we did above for a meter. It could be approximately from the distance from the floor to your waist. Because the difference between a meter and a yard is about a little over 3 inches. Okay? Okay, let's do an example of estimating some length. It says here, estimate the length and width of a $5 bill using an imperial referent and a metric referent. Well, in your book, you have the actual size of a $5 bill. Okay, so let's use maybe a couple of the reference that we talked about before. Solution. What reference will you use for imperial? Well, probably we're going to be using an inch, and we kind of used a referent for the length of your thumb as a good referent for imperial, and we used, for metric, we used the width of a finger for the referent for the metric. So what are your estimates? Well, imperial. So you just take your thumb for imperial and length. So I took my thumb on there, and I had about 6 thumb lengths. And for the width, I had about 2 thumb lengths. So your thumb might be a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger than mine, but that's about what mine was. And then for metric, I was going to use the width of my finger, and that would be in centimeters. And for the length, I had about 14 finger widths. And for the width, I had about 5 finger widths. Okay, so that's all we're talking about when we're talking about a referent. It's just using something to do an estimate. Okay, so practice. There's your practice. Why don't you go ahead and begin with that.